Hi guys, Kaze here. Welcome back. We're back with Hakuoki. It's been a while since we've been back. We're about to start chapter 5, and I'm sorry that has been so long, but I've been sick and trying not to cough. I think I'm good for today. Hopefully I don't start coughing, because no one really wants to hear me cough while a guy's trying to talk. That'd just be weird. Well, I could just mute myself, so that would work too. But anyway, let's get started and find out what's going to happen in chapter 5. Yamazaki, as you can see, has passed away. And for those who have forgotten, which was kind of sad. I like Yamasaki. He was cool. um, he passed away, and we're going Edo. So yeah, that's pretty much a quick recap of everything. And so many people died. Yeah, a lot of people died. Chapter 5. January 1868. Well, it took us a while to get there. Upon arriving in Edo, we were forced to live in an inn originally meant for the Hatamoto. It was located in the Shinagawa and was known as the Kama Inn. Kondo's shoulder injury and Okita's tuberculosis were both treated at Dr. Matsumoto at his home. The Shinsengumi had lost at Toba Fushimi, retreated from Okasaka Castle, and were plagued by doubts as the allegiance of the shogunate forces and Yoshinobu himself. Things were hardly looking good, and the men were tense and worried.
近藤局長はいつ戻られるんだ。もしや慶喜公のように我々を見捨てて逃げてしまうのではあるまいな。
When's the chief getting back? He better not have run away just to save his ass like Yoshinobu.
まさか局長がそんな。
No way, he'd never do that. Normally such insubordination would have been earned a harsh reprimand, if not more, but things had changed.
おいてめえら、おしゃべりが過ぎるぜ。暇でしょうがねえんなら、刀の手入れでもしてたらどうだ。
Hey, you guys talking too much. If you had time to screw around, how about sharpening your swords, huh?
申し訳ございません。
Yes, sir. My apologies. It wasn't just the tempers of the rank-and-file soldiers that were fraying. Nagakura and the others seemed just as on edge. Harada watched the two men scurry off and sighed.
まあ、あいつらの気持ちもわからなくはねえかな。
Well, I can see where they're coming from.
戦になった途端、総大将が真っ先に逃げ出しちまうなんて、前代未聞だ。
As soon as the war broke out, the man at the top was the first to run. That's pretty sad.
しょうがねえさ。あの人はもともと尊攘派の急先鋒、ミド藩の生まれだろ。
Maybe, but I mean, what else would you expect? Wasn't the man a national loyalist from Maito?
薩長の奴らが掲げた錦の味方にブルっちまったんだろうぜ。敵から見ると、あんな魚しやすい大将もねえよな。
He probably just pissed himself once he saw the Satsuma Chonsu alliance and had the Imperial battle standard. He can't look like much of a threat from their side of things. The standard of the Imperial Army was customary to given to a commander by the Emperor, representing the commander's directive to destroy enemies of the court. Oh, okay. Sounds fun.
尊攘派だろうが砂漠派だろうが関係ねえよ。命かけて戦ってる家来を見捨てて逃げ出すなんざ、腰抜け以外の何者でもねえ。
It doesn't matter what your politics are. You turn your back on men who are willing to give their lives for you, and there's only one thing you are. A son of a bitch.
薩長。特に長州の連中は、お取り潰し寸前だったところを死に物狂いで生き延びてきた連中だ。
Those Chonsu guys were inches away from being utterly destroyed, but they risked their lives, didn't give up, and they survived. Hell, they practically won.
それに引き換え、幕府ときたら。戦う前から負けちまってるじゃないか。
The Shogunate, though, they gave up before they even got in a fight.
この先、一体どうなっちまうんだろうな。
So, what's gonna happen now?
近藤さんは怪我で伏せってる。薩長と戦うにも、刃物じゃ銃にはかなわねえ。八方塞がりだな。
Kondo's stuck in bed. Even if we wanted to go up against the Satsuma and the Chonsu, swords can't compete with guns. We're screwed. He sighed and let his shoulders slump. So long as the men you lead are willing to fight, you can always raise morale, no matter what weapons they have. But Yoshinobu would rather run. Then what were the Shinsengumi supposed to fight for? What were they supposed to do?
ああ、お先真っ暗だな。 あれこれ考えても落ち込むだけだし、吉原にでも遊びに行くかな。
Future's looking pretty dark for us. The inbound is just making me depressed, though. Maybe we ought to head over to Yoshiwara. Of course. I was like, this sounds vaguely familiar. An authorized self-contained red light district in Edo where the licensed brothels can be found. Yep. He gave a tired sigh and stretched. As I looked around the inn, I remembered I hadn't seen Saito for a while. I had heard he had taken sick and injured to Dr. Matsumoto's, and he hadn't had time to return yet. We had to win the next battle. I knew they were doing all the best they could already, but when I thought of the peaceful times we enjoyed back in Kyoto, that seemed so far away. Sometimes I wondered if they'd happen at all. But there was one thing that worried me above all else. I'm guessing Hijikata? Hijikata, I brought you some tea. I knocked politely on the door, but he didn't respond. Hijikata, are you there? I'm going to open the door. He was sitting in the back of his room at his desk, writing furiously. You seem slightly depressed. Are you okay? From time to time, he would pause and think for a few moments, then return to writing. Hijikata, I brought your tea.
そこに置いといてくれ。
Leave it here. He didn't even bother to turn around and acknowledge me, and his voice was distant and faint. I sat up from setting his tea down, and I noticed he was looking worse than usual. His face was pale, almost blue, and there were tremendous dark shadows underneath his eyes. Hijikata was a fury now. Being awake and active during the day had to be torturously difficult for him, but he continued to work at such a feverish pace I almost thought he was possessed. Well, I'll be going now. Don't push yourself too hard. I had made it almost to the door when we were interrupted.
副長、いらっしゃいますか?
Are you here, Commander?
おう、どうした?
Yes? What is it?
今日、お目通りが叶うはずの幕臣の方なんですが。
We were supposed to be with that vassal today. You remember?
なんでも、約束を反故にして、別の場所に出かけようとなさってるみたいで。
Well, I just got word, but he's going to give us the brush off and go somewhere else. Hijikata grunted.
今日こそは何としても話を聞いてもらわなきゃ始まらねえ。ちょっと出かけてくるからな。
No, we need to talk to him. I don't care how. If we can't, we're stuck. I'll go. And with that, he stormed out of the room. He looked awful when I had come in. I hoped he'd be all right.
いやはや、江戸に戻ってきてからというもの、獅子奮迅の働きぶりですね。
God, ever since we got to Edo, he's been working non-stop. He mumbled under his breath, almost impressed as Hijikata stalked out.
副長は、なんとか薩長の再選の機会を得るべく、連日、幕府のお偉方に直談判しに行ってるみたいです。
He's been visiting some of the shogunate bigwigs, hoping to get support for a rematch against the rebels.
大使たちも、副長はあれだけ働いてるのに、いつ寝てるのかって不思議がってますよ。
The men are starting to wonder if he sleeps, or even if he sleeps. I put emphasis on he as if he sleeps. I knew it wasn't his intent, but Shimada's words hurt. Had Hijikata not been a fury of an all toll, and his body would not have been so high. Shimada, are you okay? You look like you've lost a little weight too.
まあ、山崎くんが亡くなって仕事が増えましたからね。
Well, ever since Yamasaki passed away, I've got a lot more work to do.
彼の置き土産ですから、多少きつくてもなんとかこなさないと。
But he left it to me, and I'll be damned if I dishonor his memory by messing it up.
それに、あれだけ頑張ってる副長を見てたら、俺一人休むなんて到底できませんよ。
And after seeing how far the commander is pushing himself for us, it wouldn't feel right if I just sat around all day, you know? I suppose. I knew how Shimada felt, but he was in a position to actually contribute. There's nothing I could do for Hijikata. The day he died, Inoue had told me that while I might not be much help to Shinsengumi as a warrior, there were other ways I might be of service. I thought about that every day since Inoue and Yamazaki had died, I had yet to think of what it was I could do.
さて、それじゃあ俺もこの後用事があるんで出かけてきます。
Well, I've got plenty more to do, so I'll be on my way. Oh, yes, of course. Please, be careful.
そうそう。最近辻斬りが増えてるらしいですからね。夜の外出は控えるようにお願いします。
Oh, right. I've heard there are a lot of killers out in the streets these days, creeps looking to test out their swords on a living body. So you probably shouldn't go out alone at night, alright? Okay. Shimada nodded, then lifted himself heavily to his feet and left. Later that night, I was waiting in the empty common room for the captains to return.
よう、こんばんは。
Evening, Chizuru. Oh, Heisuke, where's everyone else?
新八さんと佐野さんなら下っ端大使連れて吉原に遊びに行っちまったよ。で、俺が留守番させられてるってわけ。
Shin and Sano took the men to Yoshiwara and left me behind to house sit.
俺あの人たちの使いっ走りでもなんでもねえんだけどな。
Man,
雑用押し付けられても困っちまうぜ。
I'm not a servant, you know? They can't keep giving me this kind of bitch work.
まあ、以前と変わらない扱いをしてくれるっていうのは嬉しいけどさ。
Well, I guess it's cool for acting like they always did. To me, I mean, like nothing ever changed. His laugh sounded small and lonely in the empty hall. Oh, that reminds me. Do you know where Sanan is? Did he go somewhere?
三男さんなら夜回りだってさ。
Yeah, he's out on patrol. Patrol? But we're not in Kyoto anymore. No one asked us to keep the peace in Edo. Why is he still doing it? I don't think I want to know. Never mind, I retract that statement. His face was solemn.
最近、三男さんの様子がおかしいんだ。
Sanan's been acting weird lately.
今日も夜になってからいきなり外を巡察してくるなんて言い出して。
Like, just today. As soon as the sun went down, he told me he was leaving on patrol.
俺も同行するって言ったんだけど、一人で平気だって言われちまってさ。
I asked if he wanted me to go with him, but he said he'd be fine on his own. Oh, well, I heard there have been a lot of killings at night recently. Maybe he went out to see if he could learn anything about that. Or the awkward moment when it's actually them, and it's just, oops. He might have the same authority they had in Kyoto, but Shinsengumi still worked for the shogunate. Perhaps Sanan was simply trying to protect Edo, regardless of whether he's been asked to or not.
ならいいんだけどな。
Well, if that's the deal, then good. He didn't much sound like he thought it was, however. Oh! Hijikata, welcome back.
なんだ、まだ起きてやがったのか。
You're still up? His face was still pale, but his tone was sharp. As I watched, I realized he was only barely standing. He shook just slightly as he moved, and I got the feeling that if he let his concentration slip even a little, he would simply collapse. There was something wrong, but what should I say? You should rest. Anything I can do. Yeah, let me just blurt it right out and just say it. All right, you should rest. The commander would not love me at all for that. So we're just gonna go with this one. Is there anything I can do to help? I knew what the answer would be, but I couldn't help asking.
ねえよ。余計な気を回さずおとなしくしてろ。
No, just stay put and stop thinking about that. Well, that was clear enough. Oh, I see. Even though everyone else was working themselves to the bone, barely sleeping or eating, all I could do was sit around. Useless. Hijikata must have seen my face fall because his frown changed and his brows drew together.
おい、だからいちいち辛気くせえ顔すんのはやめろ。
Hey, don't give me that look. Oh, I'm sorry. The moment I said it, I realized it only made things worse. An apology only made me sound more miserable. No, that wasn't good at all. I need to be more cheerful, or I just drag everyone else down with me. If I couldn't help, the least I could do was try not to hinder. Hijikata sighed.
余計な心配はいらねえから。とりあえず茶でも入れてこい。
I got romance. You don't need to worry about us. Just go make some tea, alright?
お前の入れる茶は悪くねえからな。
Your tea isn't that bad, I guess. I will save the world with tea. I'm sorry, no. Okay, I'll be right back. I ran off to the kitchen, my mood much improved.
土方さんってさ、なんだかんだ言ってあの子には甘いよな。
Hijikata, you put up a good front, but you're really pretty easy on her.
うるせえ。
Shut it. Oh, he's blushing. Oh, I think that's the first time we've ever actually seen Hijikata blush, right? Here you go. I could only find some hard candy to go with the tea, but...
構わねえ。飲んだらすぐ仕事に戻らなきゃならねえからな。
Fine. I have to get back to work as soon as I drink this anyway.
そんなに働いて大丈夫なのか？羅刹になっちまったんなら、昼間は寝てて夜だけ働いた方がいいんじゃねえの？
Are you sure you're gonna be alright? You're a fury now. You should be sleeping during the day and working at night. Hijikata didn't answer. Instead, he took a sip of his tea and sat in silence for a moment.
大阪城から引き上げるときにな、近藤さんに言われたんだ。
When we were leaving Osaka Castle, Kondo said something to me.
もし自分が大将だったら、たとえ兵士が2、300人になっちまっても、大阪城に立てこもって、とことんまで戦って。
He said that if he was the shogun, even if he only had 200 or 300 men, he'd have locked himself in that castle and fought until he didn't have anyone left.
最後は腹を切って、武士の生き様を見せつけてやるのに。
Then he would have gutted himself, like an honorable warrior.
大将がさっさと腹を詰めちまってどうするんだよ。あんたは潔すぎだってたしなめておいたんだが。
I told him that it doesn't do anybody any good when the guy on top dies, and it's bad news for everyone on the bottom. I told him he was being too idealistic.
肩に玉食らって寝込んでるあの人がそこまで言ってる時に、具合が悪いからって俺だけ休んでられねえだろ。
Now he's stuck in his bed, shot in the shoulder. He'd die for any one of us, and we all know it. Sure, I feel like shit, but that doesn't mean I get to rest. He gave a weak smile.
近藤さんが戻ってくるまでに少しでも戦いやすい状態にしとかねえとな。
Gotta get things back in order before he gets back. There was a gleam in his eye, excitement at the thought of handing over a perfectly functioning Shinsengumi to his master and friend. If the rest of the men worried because they saw their chief laid low by a coward's bullet, Hijikata was buoyed by the simple fact that Kondo was alive, and that he had the courage to do what other leaders would not. He finished his tea quickly and returned to his room with only a perfunctory thanks. The day before, his light had stayed on late into the night. Today would likely be no different.
でもさ、きついのはきっとこれからだぜ。
I've got a bad feeling things are just gonna get worse from here on in.
土方さんはまだ羅刹になったばっかで、吸血衝動は出てないみたいだからな。
Hijikata's a fury, but it doesn't look like he started to feel the bloodlust yet. No, I don't think he has. Bloodlust?
羅刹になるとな、血を飲みたくて仕方なくなっちまうんだよ。
When you become a fury, something happens to you. And, well, sometimes you really, really want to drink blood. Like, you need to.
剣の稽古で思いっきりぶったたかれるのなんか比べ物にならねえくらい苦しくて、いっそ殺してくれって思うくらいだもんな。
It hurts, and not like how it hurts when you get beat up during sword practice. You'll want to die, just because that'll make the pain stop. Oh no! My hands leapt to my mouth involuntarily. Hijikata already looked terrible. If unbearable pain were suddenly added to his many burdens? Is there anything to do anything about it?
血を飲めば嘘みたいに良くなっちまう。でもそれはあくまでもその場しのぎに過ぎねえからな。
Well, if you drink some blood, then it goes away almost immediately, but only for a while.
時間が経つとまた苦しくなる。
And the longer you go, the more painful it gets.
しかも最初の頃は少しの血でよかったのに、そのうち多くの量を飲まなきゃ落ち着かなくなってくるんだ。
At first, you only need a little blood to feel better, but after a while, you need more. And pretty soon, you have to drink a whole lot of blood before it goes away. Why do you know this in so much detail? Did this happen to you? Oh. I was at a loss for words. A monster that could only survive by drinking human blood? It was like something out of a legend. What about you, Heisuke? Are you, drinking blood? His face twitched.
頼むから聞かないでくれよ。そういうのは。
Come on, don't ask me that. He made some manner of excuse after that and got up and left the common room, leaving me alone to think about Hijikata. Yeah, that was kind of like a really blunt question. I'm sorry. Was he really okay? Had he already experienced the bloodlust Heisuke had told me about, but refused to tell anyone? He couldn't have been in the throes of it when I saw him, but it was clear that sooner or later he would find himself in a great deal of pain. He was doing so much for the Shinsengumi. I wanted to do something, anything, to help ease that pain. Wasn't there any way to suppress that desire for blood? Then it came to me. My father! He had been doing research on the Furies. Perhaps he had left something useful behind in my house. Besides, his father had been researching the creation of Furies for the Satsuma and Chosun clans. Wrong side, Dad. It was already too late to visit, so I resolved to go the next day and see if I could find anything. Why did I just stay there? Oh my god, never mind. Oh, my house looks horrible. Yeah, my house. Ooh, my house looks bad. The following day, I left a note for anyone who wondered where I'd gone and headed toward my old house in Edo. Hijikata left long before me to meet with several of the members of the shogunate. No one had apparently visited the house in several years, and everything was covered in a thin layer of dust. Now, where would he keep his Fury research? It must be somewhere hidden. I brushed some of the dust off a stack of documents and opened them up. Each one was covered in barely legible scribbling. It would take me forever to decipher them. No, this was nothing compared to what the rest of the Shinsengumi went through. I had to do it. Shoot. I guess that wasn't it either. I sat back on the floor and sighed heavily. How foolish I've been to think I could just waltz into my house, find my father's secret documents, and solve a problem that had been haunting the Shinsengumi for years. No, I couldn't give up. I had to keep trying. Sooner or later, I'd find something. Hijikata and Heisuke needed my help. I had to find something. Huh? As I flipped open a particularly thick sheaf of papers, a scrap fell out and landed on the floor. It appeared to be some kind of formula. Is this about the Furies? As I studied it, I realized what I had found. The paper described a medicine that could suppress the bloodlust of a Fury and help keep them from losing control. Thank you, I didn't know what medicine meant. Used to treat Fury bloodlust, thank you. The idea of Hijikata and Heisuke losing control was frightening, but I read on. It seemed my father had returned to Edo just after I had left for Kyoto. While he was in Edo, he had mixed up the ingredients for the medicine. So Daddy did come home! Darn you, Daddy! I looked over the instructions. The ingredients he had used were likely still in the warehouse. With his instructions, I should be able to mix it myself. And with my father's medicine, I could save Hijikata, Heisuke, and Sanan, and the other Furies that I don't know their names. I ran to the warehouse and got to work. She's not even the slightest bit upset that technically her dad was there. She missed him. By the time I finished, night had already fallen. I remembered what Shimada had told me about how many murders there had been at night lately, and made sure to stick to busy streets as I made my way back to the Kama Inn. Oh! Just as I arrived, Sanan and Heisuke were leaving. Sanan!
おや、ずいぶん遅いお帰りですね。最近物騒ですから、夜一人で出歩くのは控えた方がいいですよ。
Oh, you're rather back late. It's dangerous out there, you know. You shouldn't be out at night all by yourself. I'm sorry. I meant to come back earlier, but I was so busy and I just kind of lost track of time and... Anyway, I've got something for you. I handed Sanan the medicine, which I wrapped in a small piece of paper.
これは？
What's this? It's a medicine to suppress the Fury bloodlust. I went back to my house today and found instructions for how to make it. It should make the pain go away. Did he just do an intake of breath? He looked down at the paper I had handed him, then back at me.
お返しします。気持ちはありがたいですが、私には必要ありません。
Thank you, but no. Your gesture is appreciated, but not needed. Wait, but without it, you...
羅刹の吸血衝動は、傍から見ると異常なことかもしれません。
You're not one of us, so to you, the bloodlust might seem odd or wrong.
抑えようとすればするほど、苦しみは増し、正気を削られていくだけだ。こんな薬は気休めでしかありません。
However, the more one tries to suppress it, the greater the pain becomes. Bit by bit, it will chip away at your sanity. This medicine would be a minor reprieve, nothing more. But...
失礼。これから市中を見回ってまいりますので、これで。
Excuse me, I must leave for patrol. Good night. Before I could protest, he was gone, walking briskly down the darkened street. Without the medicine, what would someone do when the bloodlust came? Oh no! I remember that Kimigiku said to me back at Boshimi Magistrate's office.
では、あなたたち新選組の羅刹の方が見回りと称して辻斬りをしているのはご存知ですか？
Then, are you aware of the Shinsengumi Furies have been murdering people in the streets to test their strength? No, it couldn't be. It's the Shinsengumi's job to protect Kyoto and its citizens. Surely someone wouldn't attack people in the street just to satisfy his thirst for blood.
俺はその薬を飲むよ。くれるか？
Hey, Chizuru? I'll take that. Can I have it? Oh, yes, of course. I handed him the packet Sana had so recently refused. He stuffed it in his pocket as he stared off down the street at Sana's rapidly retreating back.
今日は俺も巡察についていくつもりだ。もし三男さんがおかしなことをしようとしたら、全力で止めるから心配すんなよ。
I'm going on patrol with him. If he does something weird, I'll stop him, so don't worry, alright? I was more transparent than I thought it seemed. Alright, I'm counting on you, Heisuke. Oh, right. Where's Hijikata? Is he back yet?
いや、夕方頃に戻ってきたはずだけど、ずっと部屋にこもりっきりだぜ。
Yeah, he came back earlier in the evening, but he locked himself in his room and hasn't poked his head out since. Oh, I'm gonna go check on him then. Heisuke and I said our quick goodbyes, and I made my way into Kama Inn and up to Hijikata's room. Hijikata, are you there? I've got something for you. Nothing. I was about to turn away, assuming he was asleep when... Well, that didn't sound good. The voice was clearly in pain. Hijikata, I'm coming in. I threw the door open and ran into the room. Yeah, I'm just gonna let him do that for me. He'll just start and send me into a fit of coughing. He was bent over on top of his desk in the back of the room, sweat pouring down his face, and I could hear his teeth squeaking horribly as he gritted them. Hijikata, are you okay?
バカ野郎大声出すんじゃねえ
You idiot, just shut up. But...
こんなもんすぐ収まるに決まってんじゃねえかくだらねえことで騒ぎ立てるな
This'll pass. Anytime now. Don't get all worked up over nothing. He wrapped his arms around his shoulders and squeezed until his knuckles turned white as he glared up at me. His breath came in pants, and he shivered as if he had a fever. It was Hijikata's personality to refuse to show any pain or even any emotion at all, or at least to show as little as possible. For him to be like this, the pain must have been unimaginable. Was this the bloodlust that Heisuke had spoken of? What was I supposed to do? If he drank the medicine my father had created, then the pain would likely go away, but San said it would only be a temporary solution. Then, should I give him some of my blood? Would Hijikata even want me to give him my blood? What was I gonna do? Oh, give him the blood! Give him the medicine! Make him endure it! Oh. Take my blood. For my love for you. There was no time to waste. It wasn't the best plan, perhaps, but I couldn't bear to see him in any pain any longer. And besides, at long last, I could finally be useful. I said nothing and drew the kodachi I kept at my waist.
おい、何しやがる
Sorry, panic look of expression on his face. Like, what the fuck? Hey, what the hell is this? I slid my finger along the edge of the blade and barely even felt it. A bead of thick blood formed over the cut. Please, drink my blood. It'll make you feel better, right?
何言ってやがるそんな真似ができるか
What the hell? I can't do that. His clothes were drenched in sweat and he shook like a leaf in the wind. I couldn't back down. This was my chance to do something for him, to make a difference. But perhaps more importantly, I just couldn't watch him suffer anymore. Please, don't worry about me. Please. Though he tried desperately not to, his eyes were drawn to my finger, to the thick red blood that slowly beaded and dropped. His teeth ground and his hand flexed, but he couldn't resist. It was only moments before he gave in.
バカなことしやがる嫁入り前の女が自分の肌に傷をつけるもんじゃねえ
That's what you're worried about? You're an idiot. A girl shouldn't cut herself up. No man's gonna want to marry a girl covered in scars. He then took my hand and licked the blood from my finger. I felt the soft caress of his tongue as it ran the length of the cut, and then the soft pressure of his teeth and lips as he sucked gently, drawing a few more drops out and into his mouth. I'll be fine. I'm a demon. I heal really fast.
関係あるかよ鬼だろうがなんだろうがお前が女だってことに変わりはねえ
Doesn't matter. Demon or not, you're still a girl. His breathing had already begun to calm itself. Through his hand on my wrist, I could feel his shaking subsiding as well. Though through. At last, I thought, I was able to be useful. A few moments later, his hand slipped from my wrist, and the cut on my finger had already healed. I'm sorry for being so, forward.
いや
No. He took a quiet breath and shook his head.
痩せ我慢してる場合じゃねえってことは俺もよくわかってるんだ
Hey, this isn't the time pretending that I'm fine. I know that.
近藤さんを負けさせねえためには化け物にでもなるしかねえんだよな
If I want to make sure Kondo wins, then I don't have a choice. I have to become a monster. Absently, I touched my fingers to the wrist Hijikata had taken when he drank my blood. I almost thought I could still feel his warmth there. Even after the events of that night, Hijikata pushed himself just as hard as before and visited the shogunate officials whenever he could find the time. Eventually, his work began to pay off, and the Shinsengumi were given one of the Hatama mansions to use as their headquarters. They were located behind the Kajibashi Gate in the mansion of the former executive lieutenant Minister Tane Tatsu Akizuki. Oh, good God, that's a woman. I knew he had to be in a miserable condition between his demanding schedule and fury-related difficulties, but he was determined to give Kondo his war. That thought alone seemed to sustain him and drive him forward. Perhaps the gods took pity on him. I feel like I'm in the world.
いやいや、心配かけてすまなかったな。
My apologies for worrying you. It was some time later that Kondo finally made an appearance, seemingly completely healed.
戦場に出られないというのがここまでもどかしいものだとは思わなかった。
I never thought being kept away from fighting for so long would be this frustrating.
敵が攻め入ってきたら怪我を押してでも戦おうと思ってたんだが、まあ過ぎたことを悔やんでも仕方あるまい。
Had our foes forced their way in, I was prepared to fight them, no matter my condition. But I suppose that's beside the point now.
さて、我々の今後の行動についてだが、まずは甲府へ向かい、そこで新政府軍を迎え撃つこととなった。
I'm sure you're all wondering what's next. First, we'll head to Kofu. We've been ordered to ambush the Imperial Army.
ご公儀からはすでに大砲2門、銃器、そして軍用金を頂戴している。
The shogunate
ここはぜひとも手柄を立てねばな、諸君。
The shogunate has given us 2 cannons and a number of small arms and funding. As he began to lay out the details of the plan, I saw his eyes twinkle with excitement. His anticipation of their success on this mission, Kondo and Hijikata had been given promotions. Nagakura and Harada, however, seemed less than pleased with this turn of events.
なあ、近藤さん。その甲府を守るって話を持ってきたのはどこの誰だ？
Hey, Kondo, who came up with the idea of having us guard Kofu?
勝阿波の神殿だが、それがどうかしたのか？
It was Awa no Kami Katsu. Why? Is that a problem? Who the heck is that? He figured in Tokugawa Shogunate's last days and was commander of the army and later the entire military.
勝って人の噂は俺も何度か耳にしたことがあるが、はっきり言ってあんまりいい評判を聞かねえぜ。
I've heard a lot of rumors about this Katsu guy and not good stuff.
なんでも大の戦ぐらいで有名らしい。そんな人がなんで俺たちに大砲やら軍資金を気前よく出してくれるんだ？
He's famous for being a pacifist. Why would someone like that give us cannons and money to go to war?
そもそも徳川の殿様自体が新政府軍に従う気満々らしいしな。勝なんとかさんも同じ意向なんじゃねえのか？
Besides, I've heard the shogun himself is perfectly willing to just go along with whatever the new government army wants. You don't think Katsu feels the same way? Kondo frowned.
長倉君、原田君、これは幕府直々の命令なんだぞ。
Nagakura, Harada, those are direct orders from the shogunate.
確かに戦況が芳しくないため、今は慶喜公も標準なさっているが、
It's true that the shogun isn't publicly defying a new government army, but that's because the situation isn't ideal.
もし我々が甲府城を守りきれば、幕府側に勝算ありと見て、戦に本腰を入れてくださるかもしれん。
However, if we can protect Kofu, and then perhaps he'll think that the shogunate actually has a chance to win this war, and he'll put his full resources behind it. Castle defend Edo along Tosanado and the Eastern Mountain Road. Okay, I'm like, I don't know what this is.
それに、勝てる勝てないの問題ではない。お上が我々を甲府を守るに足る部隊だと認めてくれているんだぞ。
This isn't just a matter of winning or losing. The men in charge are recognizing our hard work by saying that we are a force skilled and dedicated enough to defend Kofu.
ならば全力で応えるのが武士の本懐というものだろう。そうじゃないかね、長倉君。
Isn't it our duty as warriors then to give all we can to this fight? Don't you agree, Nagakura?
その言い方やめてくれねえか。俺は新選組の組長ではあるが、あんたの家来になったつもりはねえんだからな。
You're really gonna try and gloss over it like that? I'm a captain of the Shinsengumi, but I'm not your retainer. Kondo looked upset, but Harada spoke up before he could say anything.
サイト、お前はどう思ってるんだ？
Hey, Saito, what's your take on this?
俺は局長と副長の意見に従う。
I will do whatever the chief and the commander order me to do. All eyes turned to Hijikata.
とりあえず新政府軍との戦いに備えて隊士を増やそう。
Well, we should round up some more men if we're gonna go to war with the Imperial Army.
甲府城を抑えたら幕府からも増援が来るはずだ。
If we do good at Kofu, I'm sure the shogunate will send us some reinforcements.
それに勝阿波の神殿の評判についてだが、いくら戦嫌いとはいえ避けられねえ局面があるってことぐらいは分かってるはずだぜ。
As far as Awa no Kami goes, doesn't matter how much he hates the war, I'm sure he knows that sometimes you can't avoid it.
何せこの戦で幕府が負けちまえば幕臣は全員食いぶちをなくしちまうんだからな。そこで俺たちを任しゃしねえだろう。
I mean, if the shogunate loses, then him and all the rest of the vassals are out of the job. I don't think they want us to lose.
まあ、確かにそれも一理あるけどよ。
Yeah, I guess you got a point.
では我々は甲府の山に先回りし夜襲の準備をしておいた方がいいですかね。
Shall we head for the mountain near Kofu first and prepare for the night raids?
今回は羅刹隊は出動させねえ。ここで待機しててもらう。
Fury Corps isn't going this time. You're staying here.
それはなぜです？
Why?
幕府からの増援が来た時、あんたらの姿を見られるのはまずい。
If the Shogun does send us reinforcements, I can't afford to let them see you.
それに甲府城には他の兵士たちも多く詰めてるからな。存在を公にしちまったら隠密部隊の意味がねえだろう。
Besides, there are going to be a lot more men at Kofu, and you'll get spotted, and then what's the point of having a secret division?
ですが
But
まだ戦始まったばかりなんだし、そんなに功を焦る必要はねえって三男さん。
hey, the war's just started. We shouldn't be in a rush, such a rush, son. Come on, you know. I saw Hijikata and Heisuke exchanging a quick look. They must have realized how Sonnen would react and talked it over beforehand.
よし、それでは解散。出立までには間があるから、皆体調を整えておいてくれ。
Alright then, everyone return to your rooms. I have some time before we leave, so make sure you get your affairs in order. That was that, and the captains departed to go brief their subordinates. Only Hijikata remained behind to begin shifting through the massive stacks of papers and maps. Hijikata, are you sure you'll be okay?
よかったって何がだ?
What will be okay? I'm so used to seeing him there and then it's speaking, so when it just says him and then he doesn't speak, it's kind of odd. This war is going to be difficult, isn't it? Wouldn't it have been better to take the Fury Corps along?
ああ、それか。
Oh, that. He sighed and set down the map he'd been studying.
前に千姫とかいう女が忠告に来ただろう。
Remember when
羅刹隊が辻斬りをしてやがるって。
Remember when Sen warned us about the Furies killing people? Yes?
俺も正直言って三男さんの仕業じゃねえかと睨んでるんだ。
Well, I think it might have been Sanan. What?
今んとこ羅刹隊は貴重な戦力だ。血を得るために江戸の人間を切って回るなんて真似を許すわけにはいかねえ。
The Fury Corps is our trump card, but I can't have them murdering people in the streets to satisfy their bloodlust.
それに鳥羽伏見の時は敵方が銀の弾丸を使ってやがったせいで羅刹隊が役立たずになっちまったからな。
During Toba Fushimi, they used super bullets on the Fury Corps, which made them essentially useless. Oh, counteracts the healing powers of Furies. I'm like, what are we, vampires? I mean, kind of similar to a vampire. But most vampires tend not to have white hair mentioned about them and red eyes. Red eyes, maybe. I don't. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing.
切り抜ける方法が見つかるまで三男さんには留守番しててもらう。平助はその見張りだな。
Until we can figure out how to counteract the silver problem, I need to have Sanan stay here. Heisuke will keep an eye on him.
あとは再起のための武器調達もしてもらわなきゃならねえ。
We also might need them to go collect arms for a counterattack. A counterattack? Then he was even planning for a possible loss at Kofu?
多分次も苦しい戦いになる。本当ならお前を連れてくわけにはいかねえんだが。
This next fight is going to be a big one. We probably shouldn't take you, but...
ここに残しておけばまた風間とかいう野郎が乗り込んでくるだろうしな。だからって羅刹隊と一緒に行かせるわけにもいかねえ。
If I leave you here, Kazama might decide to try and snatch you again. Leaving you in the company of the Furies is a bad idea too.
だからお前も連れて行くがくれぐれも危険な真似はするんじゃねえぞ。
So
必ず俺の指示に従え。いいな。
So I'm taking you with us, but you watch yourself and stay out of trouble. I tell you to jump, you say how high. Got it? Okay. I could feel a nervous knot forming in my stomach, but Hijikata had to have a far greater case of nerves than I did. One can imagine. It was the morning on the day we left for Kofu. Everyone's up already. Huh? The common room was full of men dressed in clothing I had never seen before.
あれ、ずいぶん早いんだな。
Oh, hey Chizuru, you're up pretty early. I like these outfits. Huh? Your clothes. Are you really Nakakura? What are you wearing?
副長の指示だ。今日から戦の時は洋装にすべしとな。
The commander ordered us to dress in Western clothing when we go into battle from now on. It's just like, they look good. I like it.
敵は全員様相だからな。勝つためにはこっちの方が都合が良さそうだ。
Our enemies will be wearing Western clothing. Seem like we'd better too if we want to win. This is some fancy Western clothing though for battle. I'm just saying. Really? Hijikata was dressed predominantly black, and whatever his outfit was called gave him an elegant look. Yeah, he's an aristocrat in that outfit. Shoot. It suited him well. He looked as handsome as an actor, and I couldn't help but admire him for a moment.
どうした？俺の着方にどこかおかしなところでもあるか？
Something wrong? Am I wearing it wrong? Oh, no, definitely not.
おかしなやつだな。
You're strange. Oh, I love that look too. Okay, sorry. Wait, Kondo's not wearing Western clothes.
いや、どうも異国の服は窮屈そうでな。あの靴というのも歩きにくくて仕方ない。
They're just so tight. And I can't stand walking around in these, I think they're called shoes?
それに、やはり武士というのは袴に刀を刺していないと締まらん気がしてな。ただのわがままかもしれんが。
Besides, I just wouldn't feel like a real warrior in those things. I guess I'm being a little childish about it, but that's my right.
あんたはそのままでいいんだ。前線に出るわけじゃねえし、陣中にどっしり構えててくれりゃいい。
You're fine. It's not like you're out in the front lines. You just have to act dignified for the troops.
あんたの存在自体が大使にとって支えになるんだからな。
Your presence alone is enough to inspire the men.
そうか？そこまで言われると照れてしまうが。
Really? You're gonna make me blush. Too late.
それでは出かけるぞ。甲府城にいざ。
Well, let's be off then. To Kofu Castle. Sorry. And thus the Shinsengumi took on the name Koyo Regulatory Company and headed for Kofu by the way of Hachioji. Ooh. The given name is Shinsengumi by the shogunate when they were ordered to quell the uprising in Koshu, also known as Koyo region. Part of the Busho team region, Tama region of Edo. This is where Kondo and Hijikata are from. Okay, cool. On the way, Kondo split from the main group to visit his hometown. Alright then.
近藤さん、まだ追いついてこねえのか。いつまで宿で酒盛りしてるつもりだよ。
Kondo still hasn't caught up yet? How long is he gonna sit around in the inn getting drunk?
ま、久々の故郷だしな。偉くなったところを見せて回りてんじゃねえの？
Well, he probably hasn't been home in a while. Probably wants to show off how successful he's been. Let me see your outfit too, sir. Oh, you look good too. Where did you all find these outfits?
久しぶりに嫁さんと娘にも会いてえだろうし。
Not to mention, I'm sure he wants to visit his wife and daughter. He hasn't seen them in a long time.
偉くなったところって、これから戦なんだぜ。そんなことしてる場合じゃねえだろ。
Show off, huh? We're marching to war. You really think this is the time for that shit? Hijikata looked back over his shoulder at Nagakura and Harada.
八王子に入隊希望者が何人かいるらしいんだ。その見分もしなきゃいけねえからな。
He's meeting with some possible recruits.
それに、新入りの大使と打ち解け合うには、はい組み交わすのが一番だろう。
What better way to get to know new soldiers than by sharing a drink with them,
まあ、そりゃそうだけどさ。
Well, yeah, you've got a point, but... Hijikata's eyes narrowed.
金ばらまいて接待しなくても大使が集まってくるんなら、近藤さんにあんな真似させなくても済むんだがな。
If we had gotten enough recruits before we left, Kondo wouldn't be out there right now. Oh. Hijikata's words cut like a knife. The Shinsengumi had made a name for themselves in Kyoto, true, but the shogunate was faced with a numerically superior force. We no longer had the luxury of conducting interviews with potential candidates and only taking the best. Now he had to offer money and alcohol to attract recruits. Hijikata would rather cut off his own arm than stoop that low, but he had no choice.
副長、お知らせしたいことが。
Commander, there's something I need to tell you. I'm sorry, I can't get over your outfit either. You're just... okay, sorry. I want to see Heisuke in an outfit. I'm sad. I set on ahead to scout some time before Saito had finally returned.
なんだどうかしたか
What is it? Saito took a short breath and seemed for a moment to be gathering himself for something unpleasant.
どうやら甲府城にはすでに敵が入っているようです。
It seems that the enemy has already conquered Kofu Castle.
なんだって
What? Hijikata gestured quickly to some of the soldiers behind him.
伝令だすぐに局長を呼んできてくれ
We've got an urgent update on the situation. Go get the chief, now. And I think we'll just leave it there for now. And yeah, I feel like it's gonna get more intense. And I don't really like splitting up the chapters, but I think this is good because I think we're already hitting, about an hour mark at the time. So we're gonna wrap it up here. We'll save the best for last. Until then, Kaze out. Bye, guys.